So, for our first informative speech, I'm going to talk about um, the different stages in relationship and then conflict within after that relationship and how to manage conflict and the different kinds of conflict. I'm going to be using the movie The Time Traveler's Wife mainly to talk about. The Time Traveler's Wife is a very well-known movie. It was first in 2008, and then there was also a book written about it before then. So they went through all the different stages of a relationship just because he was a time traveler and they hadn't technically met. They met when she was 6, and they got married later on when they met each other when they were technically the same age. So the first stage is the initiation stage of a relationship. I feel like this was met when Henry had showed up in a bush behind Claire's parents' house when she was in the meadow playing. She was only 6 years old and he was 40 something. He had simply just said a hello and then asked for a blanket. So they didn't reveal any personal information or anything. It was just a hello. And then the exploratory stage is when the partner is trying to get superficial information, just very basic. They don't want a lot of information to reveal anything in depth or too personal. So this stage is when Henry simply tells Claire that he's a time traveler and that's why he showed up there. He didn't share any more information, or she didn't ask for any more information. It was just simply like, I'm a time traveler, that's why I'm here, and then he disappears again. The next is the intensification stage with the partners. They become more personal and intimate in their conversation. I feel like this was met when Claire was in the library that Henry works at when Henry was 28 and Claire was 23. She had asked him for help and then realized that it was Henry. Um, Henry did not recognize her at first because it was just the older Henry that had met her when he was time traveling back into time when she was 6. So she explained everything and they got super close. And since she was 23 and he was 28 and they were closer in age now, they ultimately fell for each other right then and there and went out to dinner and everything and got super personal. They shared a lot of information. They didn't leave each other's side. They technically, it was like they had known each other their whole life since Claire had known him his whole life. And then the next one is the stable stage where the relationship is no longer on a trial run. So this is technically meaning that they're just exclusive and they don't really have to hide anything from each other anymore. There's also there's two parts to the stable stage, the integrating and the bonding stage. So the integrating is when they literally integrate and become one person. So this occurs when Henry and Claire move in together and share the same friends and share the same roommates and go everywhere together. And then the next one is bonding, and this is kind of when they like tell the whole world that they're together. So he proposed and then they got married, which they're together for the rest of their life now. And then the next one's the declining stage. This doesn't have to be detrimental to the relationship, but since their life was so complicated and Claire wanted to get pregnant, but when she got pregnant, she had a miscarriage because the fetus was technically a time traveler, so the fetus time traveled and she had a miscarriage. Henry started to time travel a lot more, so he wasn't home a lot, and he usually was only gone for a few hours, and then he started to become gone for weeks on end, and Claire wouldn't know where he is or where he was or if he was safe or if he was going to come back, which took a toll on their relationship. When she was able to become pregnant and they had the child, he missed the birth. He also missed his wedding. So just throughout, he missed a lot that she wished he wouldn't have missed. But then there's the repair stage, which Henry and Claire started to communicate their problems and strengths a lot better. They came up with a plan that if he was to ever leave and not come back, what to do. She cherished the time she had with him a lot, even though he time traveled and then got shot and then came back briefly enough to die in her arms. And she cherished all the time she got with him after that, since he time traveled back to see her and their child. She always knew that they were always going to be together and that the relationship would always be stable and that there would never be a hard patch anymore, just because how the relationship was going to be because of how long they were together and all the obstacles that they had already come through. I was also going to talk about conflict. So they managed their conflict really effectively and they didn't storm out on each other's life or get separated or anything, this is called productive conflict since they managed it effectively. So this speech was just supposed to help us understand the different stages of relationship and what goes into each stage and how those stages show up in every single relationship. I also had a TED Talk that I had watched talked about how communication builds relationships, and we can't use communication to tear relationships down, which I feel falls into this movie very well, just because they had to communicate so well since they had such a different life together, and they had to learn how to use it to their best interest and just cherish the time they had together. And the relationship stages played a big part in that life, and relationship stages also play a big part in our life, even if it's just friends or family, but also for our loved ones and for our romantic relationships as well. It also plays a part on online relationships. So hopefully this speech has helped you understand relationship stages a little bit better, and I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you.